Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. Winter swimmers and seaside traders hit out as Southern Water blames a power failure for another major spill on the Sussex coast.
Relocating a herd of elephants from Kent to Kenya. It has its risks, say conservationists, but it's the right thing to do.
From retail to cargo and cabin crew, more than 2,500 jobs on offer at Gatwick Airport. Hundreds turn up for a recruitment fair.
As soon as we opened the doors at 10 o'clock, I think me and my colleague were immediately inundated and started doing interviews straight away.
The last year, the changes, the chops and changes, we're all looking for the end goal and getting everybody back.
And Paw Patrol. The puppies being put through their paces as they're trained by Sussex and Surrey police to sniff out crime. Good evening. Southern Water is under fire once again tonight after tons of sewage entered the sea at Eastbourne in one of the biggest pollution spills seen on the East Sussex coast.
It comes after the company pledged to clean up its act following a record £90 million Crown Court fine for deliberately dumping raw sewage into the channel to dodge the cost of treating it. Well, it blames this latest spill on a power failure. And with more on this, here's Abigail Brackham.
This group of sea swimmers in Eastbourne were staying out of the water this morning after sewage was released into the sea at the weekend. They swim all year, including this Sunday, when some braved the choppy waters at low tide, not knowing that waste was being pumped out to sea.
You see people in there, they don't know that there's been sewage released into the sea. And this is what's happening all the time. It seems to be getting worse.
Fingers crossed the dilution effect is adequate and I'm lucky. But unlike some of the government suggestions about swimming with your mouth closed, etc., it's not practical to swim with your mouth closed.
Southern Water's Eastbourne Treatment Centre suffered an electrical fault on Saturday evening, stopping it from working. In the last year, Southern Water has let wastewater into the sea here at Eastbourne 20 times. But this weekend's release was by far the longest, lasting for 17 hours. But it's not just Eastbourne. In the autumn, 14 beaches were closed in Thanet because untreated waste was discharged through storm overflows. Last year, Southern Water was handed a record-breaking £90 million fine after deliberately dumping raw sewage into seas and rivers thousands of times. Southern Water has told us specialists work to resolve the situation in Eastbourne as quickly as possible in challenging conditions. They immediately brought in tankers to reduce flows, but some screened wastewater was released intermittently during stormy conditions to protect homes and businesses. But businesses like this tackle shop say they rely on the sea being sewage-free.
Will affect the fishing in the long run because, like the rivers inland, they're polluted now with lots of chemicals and stuff, and the fish are dying. So it's not good for my business.
Now, Southern Water says it will continue to patrol the beaches for evidence of a spill and has promised a full investigation into what happened. Abigail Bracken, ITV News, Eastbourne.
In other news, the family of a Sussex cyclist killed by a driver have spoken of their loss. Nathan Hill was hit by a car in Hailsham in January 2020. He then fell in front of an oncoming bus and died at the scene. 51-year-old Jane Field of Cameron Close has now been found guilty of causing death by careless driving. Mr Hill has been described by his family as loved by everyone who knew him.
Greenpeace has been cleared of wrongdoing after dropping huge boulders off the coast of Brighton. Activists released 20 in all as part of a campaign to protect a marine conservation zone. It's argued the deep sea area is under threat from heavily bottomed trawlers. But a judge has decided any prosecution is not in the public interest.
Wild animal park bosses have defended a plan to relocate a herd of elephants from Kent to Kenya after claims the animals could struggle to survive.
Well, the herd's former keepers said the animals are too used to being held in captivity at Howlett's Wildlife Park near Canterbury, and the risk of moving them more than 7,000 kilometres away is too great.
But trustee and son of the park's founder, Damien Aspinall, has defended the ambitious project, saying the foundation has a 30-year history of successful rewilding projects around the globe. Sarah Saunders has more.
Kent is home to the largest herd of African elephants in the UK. For now. Howlett's Wild Animal Park is planning to fly the 13 animals more than 7,000 kilometres across the globe and release them into the wild in Kenya. It's a big conservation challenge, and park bosses reject suggestions the transfer is too great a risk to the animals' welfare and even survival.
They do so badly in captivity and they suffer such bad mental stress that we owe it to elephants to find a way to rehome them. And it's not without risk, but the reward is this herd of elephants that do not belong in England have a chance of living wild and free.
So I worked with Howlett's elephants for under 25 years.
Former head elephant keeper David Magner found himself at loggerheads with the park once before. He lost his job after a dispute about the care of a baby elephant. He knows the animals and is concerned about the rewilding risks, from transportation to poachers and human contact.
Obviously the big difference is because where they are now, they're all captive elephants, they're not born in the wild. Putting them somewhere where they don't know. There's the aspect of food, there's the aspect of water, there's the aspect, are they going to meet other elephants? Are they going to come into contact with people? Well, yeah, it could work, but I still think it's too big a risk.
The foundation has rewilded more than 300 animals and says it always works hard to mitigate every risk.
But this process is not a one-off activity here. The Aspinall Foundation believes that no elephant belongs in captivity, and indeed that zoos should be phased out altogether over the next 30 years.
I think there is a growing realisation across the country, across Europe, across the world, and amongst the zoo industry, that elephants are not a species that is successful in captivity. It's been a long experiment and it has broadly failed, and that we should do whatever we can now to bring it to a close, including, where possible, returning elephants to the wild.
The Aspinall Foundation is confident the scheme will be a success, hailing it a potential trailblazer for other zoos to follow suit. Sarah Saunders, ITV News.
They are such magnificent creatures, I think.
Yeah, let's hope they find the best solution for them. Now, more than 40 employers at Gatwick Airport, from retail to ground staff to porters and cabin crew, have been taking part in a recruitment fair to fill 2,500 jobs.
Yes, the event, which continues for a second day tomorrow, is taking place in Crawley, a town hit hard by the pandemic and a loss of local aviation jobs. Well, James Dunn is live at the airport tonight. And James, it's been a good turnout today of people keen to get back into work.
Hundreds of people hoping to work here at Gatwick, Amanda, were at the jobs fair in Crawley. They travelled not just from the town itself, but from right across Sussex. Some people I'd spoken to today had come up from Brighton, and I think the event reflects the fact for the first time in a very long while, this airport is able to look forward with certainty and positivity into the future. Opening the doors to opportunities at Gatwick. As the airport recovers from the pandemic, today was about recruitment instead of redundancies. Victoria worked in the NHS.
That's what's nerve-wracking about it.
She's looking for a career change and tells me these last 2 years have been tough.
I bought a house here thinking if I needed work, Gatwick is a massive employer and it affects a lot of other businesses like hotels and things like that. And for the airport to shut down and reduce its services in the South Terminal particularly, it's been really difficult. People have been really struggling. There hasn't been the work available around.
Yakub believes the industry can now offer security.
I was looking for a job which I can support, and I support my family for 100% wages to make sure we're not going to be hit by another pandemic, so we're going to lose the job, business and so many things.
For anyone at the job fair today, there are plenty of opportunities on offer, from ground handling staff to border force workers. And if you follow me around the corner here, you also see that the airport is recruiting hospitality and retail staff to work in some of the shops.
It's genuinely been incredible. You know, as soon as we opened the doors at 10 o'clock, I think me and my colleague were immediately inundated and started doing interviews straight away. Real positive, and I've got to say, the calibre of candidate we're having coming forward is excellent, and as well as the positive energy they're bringing.
Callum's recruiting for a new short-haul British Airways service, which takes off next month.
With the government's now announcements, what's happening now, it's been a long time coming. It really has. The last year, the changes, the chops and changes, we've all got the same goal now. Everyone here's got the same goal now. We're all looking for the end goal and getting everybody back where they want to go, not only just working, but travelling as well.
Looking at the demand here today, employers will have no shortage finding people to fill the 2,600 roles available.
So James, jobs being offered today and even more in the future.
That's right, Gatwick estimates it will need up to 5,000 staff in total as it anticipates what will be an extremely busy summer as COVID vaccines help open up international travel. You heard there in my report about BA launching a new service. Vueling and Wizz Air will be doing the same too over the coming months. And while the airport at the moment is only operating from the North Terminal, which is where I am tonight, plans are being made behind the scenes to get the South Terminal back up and running, Amanda, as soon as possible.
Good to have some positive news from the aviation industry. James, as always, thank you.
You're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up, rapid response by air and road. The Kent, Surrey and Sussex Air Ambulance takes delivery of new cutting-edge life-saving kit.
And we meet the latest Sussex police recruits finding their feet as they're trained to sniff out cash, explosives and drugs, and very beautiful too.
And you can find more on today's top stories in the region throughout the day on our website. Go to itv.com/Meridian. You can call us on 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.
Now, experts are warning of a future mental health crisis after new research showed 1 in 6 children and young people have a diagnosable condition. The pandemic is being blamed for a sharp rise in cases over the last couple of years.
Specialists say half of those who have mental health problems in adulthood experience symptoms in childhood. This week is Children's Mental Health Week, which aims to raise awareness of the issue, as Kevin Ashford reports.
And so, what did it feel like not to be able to come into school?
The impact of the pandemic and lockdowns has been felt by all ages, not least youngsters like these.
I just wanted to stay in my bed all day, just not do nothing. When I'm actually usually very active, I like to run around a lot, but it just made me feel like I'm dead. I just want to stay in my bed all day and don't do nothing.
I just tried to push through it, and I kept on trying to do stuff at my house that just made me happy. And I just done that the whole time, pretty much.
I was feeling really sad. I almost cried, but I got through it. I thought everything's going to be all right.
Now I feel like I'm all over it. Like I'm happy and everything, but at the same time, it's like it's still here, and I don't think it is ever going to go. It's always like going to be here.
So we were talking about when we get a little bit scared and a little bit frightened.
The Place to Be charity helps teach children about mental health. They also run in-school counselling sessions so that young people can get support when they need it. This counsellor is in Cranbrook in Kent. She says the pandemic has meant particular issues need tackling.
In primary schools, I think we're experiencing a lot of anxiety and a lot of socialisation issues, sort of problems with friendship groups. It seems to be that children are lacking a little bit in how to get on with each other. There's been conduct issues that have been really noticeable with the school. As also in primary schools, children that are dealing with difficult situations at home and financial stress and other things because of what's happened recently.
Research is starting to show the impact that the pandemic has had on youngsters' mental health. According to new figures, 1 in 6 children and young people have a diagnosable mental health problem. 2 years ago, it was 1 in 9, and that can be a critical indicator of future problems. Half of those with lifetime mental health problems first experience symptoms by the age of 14. And 1 in 10 boys aged 5 to 19 with a mental health condition are excluded in some form from school. Experts say the last couple of years has disrupted the structure of many youngsters' lives, in some cases replacing order with chaos.
They need to be met before the school gates. You can't expect chaos navigators to just turn in and student up. So we have to change the way we do things. Otherwise, we're just going to have this massive gap and divide, and more children growing into adults, leaders, citizens, whose narrative is people like me don't do things like that.
Experts say it may be many years before we fully understand the effect the pandemic has had on the mental health of both adults and the adults of the future. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Now, the Kent, Surrey and Sussex Air Ambulance has revealed a third of its emergency call-outs are now attended by road rather than by helicopter.
The charity responded to more than 3,000 life-threatening incidents last year, making it the busiest 12 months in the organisation's 32-year history.
Its fleet of rapid response vehicles are crewed by the same emergency medics as the aircraft, and today they're getting cutting-edge new blood pressure monitoring equipment to help them save even more lives, as Kit Bradshaw has been finding out.
When it comes to caring for the critically ill, these helicopters can mean the difference between life and death. But it's not just their speed that makes them so valuable, but also the highly trained clinicians and advanced equipment on board.
For me, they've saved my life. If they weren't there that day, or, I wouldn't be here today.
When Saroj Khadka collapsed at home in Cobham in 2018, after complaining of indigestion, his wife Sarah quickly dialed 999.
They took me through some simple tests, shake the shoulders, is he breathing, no. Eyes were rolled back in the socket, and they took me straight into doing CPR. The land ambulance arrived first of all, several vehicles, and then I learnt sometime after they'd arrived that the air ambulance arrived and took over and brought the most amazing machine that helped save his life.
And now the air ambulance is getting a new piece of specialist equipment.
This is our airway and monitoring bag.
It's a type of blood pressure monitor, which uses a line into the artery rather than a cuff on the arm.
But with this bit of kit, we can detect changes in blood pressure with every heartbeat. So that will allow us to accurately either lower the blood pressure or elevate the blood pressure according to the need. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to ensure that we're getting blood and oxygen to the right organ, which is the brain and the heart.
And it's far more accurate, I guess, for you, so you get a much better idea of the status of your patient.
Absolutely, yes. We don't want people just to survive. We want them to have the best fighting chance for the best recovery they can.
Last year, the air ambulance charity in Kent, Surrey and Sussex responded to more than 3,000 incidents. And in more than a third of those cases, they sent a car rather than a helicopter. From today, all their vehicles will be carrying the new arterial blood pressure monitor.
As you can see, we've got 4 of these cars that we use when either the aircraft's unavailable, we might not be able to fly due to the weather, so for example, very low-lying cloud, or there might be a location that's preferable to go to by car, for example, if it's something very close. And then we able to bring all the same kit and the same team to the scene of the emergency job. So sorry. Oh, no. So sorry.
Our interview had to quickly end when a call came in. A man needing urgent care at Gatwick Airport, just 6 miles away, made the car the obvious choice. But whether they're responding on the road or in the air, these specialist medics now have even more tools at their disposal to help those in desperate need. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News, Redhill.
Complete heroes, aren't they?
Absolutely, and they're always on the move,
Yes,
clearly.
they are.
Now, a woman from Margate is backing calls for a menopause champion to be appointed in every company across the country to promote awareness and well-being.
Yes, the menopause is a natural stage in a woman's life, but new research has found the physical and mental symptoms are causing as many as 1 in 10 women to leave work. With more on this, here's Catherine Walker.
Charlie from Margate runs classes for women going through menopause. She knows how difficult the symptoms can be, especially in the workplace.
Couldn't remember words, I couldn't remember places I've been, I couldn't remember who I was talking to. And so all of a sudden, from when you've been sort of functioning quite highly on quite a high speed for a considerable amount of time, suddenly to be sitting there and really not even knowing your name, which is how it felt, you know, all of a sudden you actually really feel quite inadequate.
The menopause occurs when women stop having periods and their estrogen levels fall. Symptoms range from hot flushes to heart palpitations to memory loss and can have a big impact on day-to-day life. In a recent survey, 99% of women said their symptoms had negatively impacted on their careers. 6 in 10 said they had to take time off work, and 1 in 10 had to leave their jobs as a result.
So the issue around women and work and the menopause is you have an amazing amount of skills and talent that has been acquired and developed in these women. And at a time when the labour market is struggling for people with specific skills, with experience, they are actually losing a very large amount of skills.
It's these concerns that prompted Dr. Heather Curry to take action. She's calling on employers across the country to appoint a menopause champion to offer better support in the workplace.
What we really want is that all organisations have some recognition that menopause affects all women and that in some women this will have an impact. And whether it's a menopause champion, whether it's a menopause framework, whether it's a policy, whatever it is, it's just something that suits that organisation and their staff.
A menopause strategy has already been successful at this estate agents, which has offices across the region. They've introduced webinars for men and women and will appoint a champion in the summer.
So we ran a webinar internally and we were overwhelmed with the response from our women and our men. So we knew there was an issue, albeit a hidden issue, because people just weren't comfortable about talking about menopause, even saying the word menopause in the workplace.
The need for more of these conversations at work is an issue the government say they are taking seriously.
We're calling on employers to work with us to battle any stigmas around women in the workplace with menopause symptoms. But in fact, if well understood with good support, with good advice, good line management and good engagement, actually it's a process that can be well supported and understood.
It's the first step towards a big workplace transformation, but one that experts like Heather hope will make a huge difference to women across the country. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
I think it will. We do need some support, vital really.
Absolutely glad that it is being talked about.
Yeah.
Now, a story we've really been looking forward to, because have you ever wondered what police do with the money gathered during drug warrants and seizures?
Well, in Sussex and Surrey, they're using it to fight drug-related crime, to breed and train drug dogs of the future.
The Forces Training Unit is world renowned for its work training all kinds of dogs and handlers, not just here in the south, but across the world, as Chloe Oliver has been to find out.
It's the first foray into police life for these Springer Spaniels, and they're extremely excited about it. At 3 months old, it's a gentle introduction today by puppy trainer Ian Moland.
Roll the ball out, we wait for that ball to go stationary again. It's a different sort of ball, then we let him go.
It's the first time in 70 years the breed has been used by the force, their tenacity making them perfect candidates.
Springer Spaniels, they don't know when to sleep, do they? We all know that. You'll see them, they're constantly moving around all the time. They're easy, they're compact, you can pick them up, you can pop them into cars, you can put them on the shoulder, you can search high up, you can search loft spaces with them.
Searching the car for drugs, 7-year-old Rebel shows what these puppies could be doing if successful. He's been with the force for the last 5.5 years. It's not just drugs, their noses and agility will help find cash, explosives and vulnerable people. In 2019 alone, £1.2 million worth of drugs were seized by the force, and it's money from that pot that has gone into funding these dogs.
An average price of a dog for us to go out and find a dog of quality, 12-month-old, would cost us over £4,000 per dog. So by us breeding our own dogs, you can do the maths yourself on how much this would save us
This is Ren, he's part of the W litter. He's just 12 weeks old and he'll be training as part of Surrey and Sussex Police's operational dog force, where they'll be searching for drugs across the counties. Ren, along with Whiskey, Winnie, Wilbur and Wizard, are all living with dog minders. Their personalities emerging already, some shy, some overexcitable.
Although it's hard at the end, giving them up, it makes you so proud. And it's a mixture of emotions of sadness, but also happiness that you are part of. You've given them the foundation to become a fully operational police dog, and they go off happy and confident dogs, and they love their jobs.
Well, over the next year, their training will be increased to prepare them for their role. With the incentive of their much-loved tennis ball, these dogs will one day help combat crime and make our streets a safer place. Chloe Oliver, ITV News, Surrey Police Headquarters.
They are so kind of so beautiful. The whole office is just in love with all of those dogs. It's lovely. Now, Holly joins us now. And going back to dogs, dog walking was out this morning. It was quite mild. What's going on? It was quite warm.
Yeah, ever so mild at the moment. In complete contrast to this day last year. Let's take a look at it, because if you remember, we had snow and wildly different temperatures as well. Last year we had a maximum at Wych Cross of minus 2.4 degrees. Today a maximum in Manston of 12.7, a difference of 15 degrees. So a very, very different feel.
How does that happen? How can it be so different?
Well, it's because of wind direction. So last year we had a screaming easterly, lots of cold air from the continent. This year we've got a southwesterly bringing much, much milder air from the Atlantic. That is easy enough to explain. What is harder to explain is a rainbow with no rain.
That doesn't sound possible, does it?
Strictly not possible.
Bit of an odd one, isn't it? But let's take a look at some photos, because I've had a few in. This first one came in from Isabel Baker. We've got one in here from Andy Holloway in Peacehaven. We've got one in Shoreham by Sea, sent in by Lee Curtis. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? And also Gina Dixon spotted one in Horsham. Tricky one to explain, this one, because obviously you don't normally get rainbows without rain. You can see there the colours are very muted. That means they're forming in smaller drops than your typical rainbow would. So there'll be some sort of moisture in the air, whether it's mistiness, whether it's a bit of drizzle, whether it's a cloud. There'll be something up there, but certainly really, really unusual.
Oh, thank you very much, Holly. Let's find out about the weather then. Here's Holly.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So we're continuing with our mild theme as we head through the night tonight, and tomorrow as well, actually. It's another mild day, some bright spells to be had, although a bit more cloud will thicken as the day goes on, and we could see something a little damp perhaps moving in later. So this is the bigger picture. We're in this mild air mass at the moment. This front, though, heads our way later on tomorrow, and then we see a wave developing on it, and that could well bring some rain perhaps overnight Wednesday and to start Thursday. It does clear through. There is some uncertainty about the timing on this feature, but behind it, high pressure builds in for Friday. That should bring us some sunshine, but it will be a chilly start on Friday with a colder air mass moving in. So out there at the moment, a fair bit of cloud around, some clear spells I think as we head through the night tonight. We've still got this southwesterly breeze that we've had through the day today. A shower or two, but I think mostly dry. And these are our low temperatures, which actually are around about or a little bit higher than the sorts of values we'd normally expect by day at this time of year. So we head into tomorrow, and I think we'll have some bright weather around. Again, cloud will tend to come and go a bit, but I think we'll have some spells of sunshine. Still this breezy southwesterly wind, and then cloud does tend to thicken later, and we could possibly see a little bit of dampness towards the tail end of the day. Still, though, a mild one. Temperatures perhaps not as high as today, but widely in double figures. And we've got our high tide times for tomorrow. We're looking at Hastings at 4:18 and again at 4:59 as you head into the afternoon. And here's your outlook. So I think on Thursday it could well be a bit of a wet start. As I say, some uncertainty about this rainfall, but it should clear through as the day goes on. Something a bit brighter coming in behind, but also some chillier air. So I think quite likely a frosty start on Friday, but with some sunshine by day. Take care.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, in just a moment, the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
For now, though, from all the team at ITV Meridian, bye-bye.
Take care, bye-bye.